welcome back to another video. I hope you are doing very well. Today I am finally back with another weekly vegan eats video, and in today's video I'm going to show you what I ate for lunch in a week as a vegan. Included in this video are 3 lunches that I made and took to work and 4 lunches that I ate at home. So hopefully this can give you a little bit of inspiration of food to make to take to work and food that you can make at home when you're at home and have some time to make some delicious plant-based food. Anyway, that is enough of my face. Let's get into the food. This is a week of vegan lunches and I hope you enjoy. Alrighty, so starting with Monday, and I'm preparing this the night before because I was heading off to work early on Monday morning. The first thing that I did was I chopped up some adzuki bean tempeh. You will notice if you watch some of my older videos and throughout this video that I eat a lot of tempeh. In the pan I am also putting some oil as well as some barbecue sauce and some broccolini, and I am frying this up for about 5 to 10 minutes or until it is as crispy as I would like it. Then I got a container to take to work the next day. I put my broccolini and my tempeh in there, and then with this I also decided to take some oat sourdough bread as well as some avocado and some homemade cashew sour cream. Cashew sour cream is like a staple in my diet that I like to keep on hand, and I took all of this to work with me, and then at work made myself like a nice fancy avo toast kind of vibe, and it was really delicious and nourishing and kept me full throughout the work day. Moving on to Tuesday, and I first of all started with a product I am loving at the moment, which is the Smoky Barbecue Jackfruit product by Amazonia. It's a recent release, so if you haven't heard of it, that's why. The first thing that I did was in a frying pan put some olive oil as well as the barbecue jackfruit, and I fried that up until it had like a nice crispy edge around it. Whilst that was frying, I made a new batch of my cashew sour cream with cashews, nutritional yeast, garlic, some salt as well as some pepper, and then I also added in some plant-based milk. All of the full measurements will be down in the description box below for all of these recipes, just so you know. And then I blended this in my Vitamix until it was nice and creamy and smooth. Then into a bowl I started with some corn chips, and then I piled my barbecue jackfruit on top as well as the homemade cashew sour cream that I had just made. This is a very simple and easy lunch, but it was exactly what I needed and hit the spot perfectly. I really encourage you to try out recipes like these at home if you're after something full of flavor. Moving on to Wednesday, and I'm back again with the tempeh. Like I said, I use a lot of tempeh in my cooking, especially for lunch, and I chopped up about 1/3 of this block, and then I fried it in some olive oil in my frying pan. Whilst that was frying, I then got myself an avocado and I cut it in half, and then I'm going to use half of this to put on the sandwich that I'm making today. I'm currently loving peeling avocados so that you get every last bit of it, and I sliced this into some thin pieces to make sure it would go onto my sandwich perfectly. Whilst my tempeh was frying, I also put some barbecue sauce on top because I'm loving barbecue tempeh at the moment. I'm actually eating it for lunch right now as I edit this video, and I allow that to fry up until it is nice and crispy, and as you can see it is sizzling away nicely. Then in the pan I also put in some kale, and I fried that up in the olive oil and barbecue sauce just so it gets that nice smoky sort of flavor as well. Now when it comes to preparing the sandwich, I put my avocado onto this sourdough bread and mashed it all onto the bread nicely. Then I put my crispy kale straight from the frying pan as well as my crispy tempeh. Then on the other piece of bread I put some vegan chipotle mayonnaise, and then I put this all together, and this was honestly my favorite lunch of the entire week, and I have been loving making barbecue tempeh sandwiches lately that are so full of flavor. They fill me up so nicely, and yeah, they just taste so good. A little bit difficult to chop in half though, as we can tell, but yeah, as you can see they are nice and thick and also warming and nourishing in the winter months because it is winter here in Australia at the moment. Okay, so moving on to Thursday, and I was making lunch at home again, and I first of all started by putting some oil into a pan to heat up, and then I chopped up a few cloves of garlic. You know when you like look at a recipe and they say 1 clove of garlic and you just know that it's not going to be enough? That's my mentality. So I used 3 cloves of garlic for this, and yeah, if you don't love garlic, I definitely would recommend putting a little bit less. It's just like my favorite thing in the world. So I put that garlic into the frying pan with the olive oil, and whilst it was frying up, I then chopped up some cherry tomatoes. This is a pasta dish that I'm absolutely loving at the moment that we are making, and yeah, I think you'll love it as well. It's so simple. Then I chopped up some fresh parsley, and I added the fresh parsley into the frying pan as well, and I allowed that to fry up for a little while. Whilst that was frying up, I then also moved on to cooking some pasta, and I've spoken about this pasta before. This is a chickpea pasta by the brand Barilla, and it's made with 100% chickpeas. I love it. It has like a really good al dente texture when it's cooked. And once it was all boiled, I then put it into the frying pan and fried it up with the oil, cherry tomatoes, parsley, and garlic, and I also added in some salt and some pepper. Once that was all fried up nicely, I then moved it into a bowl and I served it with some fresh parsley on top. And that was my lunch for Thursday, and I'm absolutely loving this dish for lunch and for dinner at the moment. It is super delicious. Moving on to Friday, and finally the sweet potato makes an appearance. If you've been subscribed to my channel for a while, you'll know I love sweet potato so much. With this one, I just got one whole sweet potato, poked some holes in it with a fork, drizzled it with some oil, and then I put it in the oven for about 40 to 50 minutes. Whilst that was in the oven, I also in a frying pan cooked up a whole cup of corn as well as a cup of black beans as well. I learned this from my friend Emily recently, that charring your corn in oil in a frying pan is so delicious, and is especially delicious with paprika, which I have added here as well. So I left this to fry up for quite a little while until it was really nice and well cooked. And once the potato was done as well as my corn and beans were done, we are serving it all up. As you can see, this potato is really well cooked and caramelized, which is exactly what we want. And then I just chopped it open and filled it up with the corn and the black bean mixture that I had made. Then I drizzled some vegan chipotle mayo on top, another thing that I am loving at the moment, and topped it with some fresh herbs. And this was my lunch. Yeah, it was really delicious and filling and all of that good stuff, which is exactly what we want from plant-based food. Moving on to Saturday, and I was preparing lunch to take with me to work again for this day. And I first of all started with a whole bunch of kale, which I put into a bowl, and then I squeezed some lemon juice on top of this kale just to give it a whole bunch of flavor. Otherwise I find kale to be quite bland, and I massaged all this lemon in so all the flavor was in there really nicely. Then I put a can of washed chickpeas into the bowl, followed by some cherry tomatoes, which I had chopped up. I'm loving cherry tomatoes at the moment, so full of flavor, so good. I then added a whole heap of spring onion. You could use another onion if you have a preference. This is just my favorite, as well as some fresh garlic, which I had chopped up. Then I put some more lemon juice on top, as well as some salt and some pepper, and I mixed that through nicely. Once it was all mixed well, I very simply put this into a container to take with me to work, and then I also put half of an avocado on top for some healthy fats in my meal as well. And yeah, that is what I took for lunch to work on Saturday. It was really delicious. Moving on to Sunday, and again I was making some food the night before to take with me to work. I first of all cut up half of a sweet potato into like little quarter-sized pieces, I guess what you would call it, as well as some broccolini, and then I also got some tempeh. This is actually my favorite tempeh. It is a chickpea and buckwheat one, or is it chickpea and linseed? One of the two. It's really delicious, and I'm loving it at the moment. So on a baking tray, I just put my broccolini as well as the chickpea tempeh and the sweet potato quarters that I had cut up. I drizzled it with some olive oil to bake and put some salt and pepper on top as well, which I absolutely love. Salt and pepper. Who would have thunk it, you know? Who would have thunk that they would be the best spices in my life? Then I added some paprika onto the sweet potato, as well as some barbecue sauce, as we know I've been loving, onto the tempeh, and I baked this in the oven until they were all nice and golden. Once this was all baked, I then put it all into a container together, and the first thing that I'm starting with is some cooked brown rice that I had on hand. Then I put my baked broccolini in, as well as my baked sweet potatoes, followed by, of course, my baked chickpea tempeh. Oh my goodness, that looks so divine. After that, I then also got half of an avocado, and then I put some sunflower seeds on top as well. And that is what I took to lunch and enjoyed very, very much so. And that is the conclusion of a week of vegan lunches with me. I hope you enjoyed. Alrighty, my beautiful friends, so that is a week of vegan lunches. I hope you enjoyed this video. First of all, make sure to tag me on Instagram if you do recreate any of these recipes. You can find me at Amanda Dax. As well as that, if you're new to my channel and enjoy my content, don't forget to subscribe. I really, really appreciate it and would love to welcome you into our beautiful little community. Anyway, my beautiful friends, thank you for being here as always, and I will see you so very soon for another video. Have a beautiful day. I love you so much. Bye.